Okay, yeah, yeah. I have a hard time reading fiction. I it takes a hell of a story for me to be interested
Yeah,
at all
I
whatsoever. So
get
I really
that.
have to find something that's pretty mainstream if I'm going to be interested in fiction. I
Yeah.
did just start American Gods.
Oh, okay.
Have you read that one or?
No, one of my friends, I want to say it was a few months ago, was talking about it though.
Yeah,
But
they
I
made a show. I don't think they finished the show. I think it got canceled.
oh,
Um, we watched season one and then I don't know what happened. I only
where did
watch
it
things that
go?
my husband turns on. I don't ever turn
Okay,
things on myself. But
that's funny.
most people are the opposite. Most people only read fiction and
Right.
nonfiction puts them to sleep, whereas I find nonfiction to
You-
be
You're the
more
opposite,
useful.
yeah.
So
I get that. I get that. I'm that way with like movies. I really only want to watch documentaries and like true things. I don't really like fictional movies. I'm like, what's the point? I'm not learning anything from this. I'm really into the history of like big chain food brands. I think it's so interesting. Like, how did McDonald's become McDonald's and all the history behind that stuff. That's like my most recent thing that I've been watching. So
I
it's
don't
pretty fun.
understand why they haven't taken documentaries and made them into movies. Like it would be so interesting. I'm so
Right.
frustrated that most of the movies that you find that have like a historical setting are inaccurate. And then
Yeah.
they feel
Right.
that if
Right.
it's
Right.
accurate, it has to be slow and stuffy and, that general documentary style that puts you to sleep. And like, why have people not figured out? Because we're
It
just making
doesn't.
same movies over and
It's
over
so
again when history is full of
yeah.
stories that could teach us something if you made it into, and like real
Mhm.
life's way more interesting than anything we could fabricate.
I agree. No, I'm super into documentary. I know they've done a couple. I think they did make one of the McDonald's ones into like a more, I don't know, more like normal movie kind of setting, but it was pretty accurate to what I had seen before. So they should do it more though. I totally agree. I like that.
Yeah, the ones that they do, they like beat to death. They take the same
I
story
know.
and they'll do two documentaries and a movie
10
and a show
versions.
on
Yeah.
the same story. It's like,
So
okay, we get it.
true.
Thank you.
So true.
McDonald's is
Yeah. We've
probably
seen
funding
enough.
this, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sure. They like make us look good. And then we'll release the McRib too.
Just to take it back, just so that we can
It's
dangle it
funny.
everywhere. Yeah. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly. Wild.
I haven't really eaten. My poor children are so uh
Oh.
deprived because they don't really get to eat a whole lot of fast
Mhm.
food and stuff. You know,
Oh, yeah.
simple simple switches make a world of difference. And, we like to talk about health and wellness
Mhm.
and all of that. So a simple
Yeah.
switch is to, which I am incredibly privileged that my husband does all of the cooking and he's so good
Oh,
at it.
nice.
So at this point in our life, we don't really eat out at all anymore because if we do, we're super disappointed. And
Hmm.
the whole time we're sitting there on, it's a $50 meal for two of us, not to even
Yeah.
mention the kids. That's easily
So
75.
expensive.
And it's not even as good as we could make it home or that he could make it home
Yeah.
because I can't cook, but
Yeah, it's nice that he can though, and it is very expensive to eat out. I feel like even just for me, I'm spending $30 easily if I'm
Mhm.
going out with friends, like just for not even just like a burger or something, it's so expensive. It's sad, but I still do it sometimes. It's
So
okay.
tell me what kind of health directions you like to focus on if food isn't really.
Um, I I'm happy to talk about anything, honestly. I mostly talk about like limbic system, retraining nervous system stuff. I have a course right now that I'm creating that's about like for people with chronic illness, how to basically stay magnetic and like stay in a high frequency, like abundance mindset over victim, scarcity mindset. Because I mean, I think I probably said this in the stuff we sent over, but I was sick for 10 years and I've always been this like manifestation person and like high vibe everything. And then when you're sick, it's like that kind of takes the back seat. So I'm making a course right now that's all like, how do you have both of those things coexist? Like, how do you have these physical symptoms but still be regulating your nervous system and doing the work so that you can still be in like this high vibration. So I feel like I usually talk about my story a little bit and then anything on like neuroplasticity or I mean happy to riff off any of that for sure.
Okay,
Uh,
so it's Lyme disease,
hmm
POTS, mold
Yeah.
toxicity. Are these all your background problems
hmm
that you had to deal with?
Yeah, yeah, and I can talk about any of that stuff too, like, healing what I did to get better and any of that is totally, I'm like
Do
super
you
open
still
about.
deal with Lyme disease and POTS and
I honestly don't have any symptoms, and I haven't for probably 4 years. But I may be like 99% better. I might have, like, if I'm flying or if I'm like on a trip where I'm working like 14, 15 hours a day, like, I might be like, oh, like, my heart's a little, a little higher heart rate than normal. But I mean, I feel like that's normal.
Sure, yeah,
Um,
people get very black and white, very on or off, very yes or no, and
yeah.
most of reality is somewhere in the middle, more
Yeah,
fluid.
for sure.
Healing doesn't necessarily mean that hmm, you never have to deal with this thing ever again.
Yeah.
It just means that, okay, so I know I have a predisposition for this,
Right.
and it easily pops up if I'm not doing the right things to care for
Take
myself.
care of exactly. Hmm
So learning what triggers it and how to
Yeah.
formulate your life in a way that triggers it less often. Not to
hmm
say that don't all mess up at some point or another. No one's perfect.
Totally.
But I
Yeah.
had I was sick for the whole like first 25 years of my life.
Yeah.
I only knew sickness, and it's crazy because it's so normalized
Yeah.
that most of us don't know what health is. Most of us, I don't,
Yeah.
a lot of us have never experienced health. And
hmm
till, we have to get to that breaking point to where, like, okay, is this normal? Because everyone
Right.
treats it like it is.
hmm
And falling into that victim mindset that you spoke on earlier is the difference between accepting and just melting away into your
Yeah.
diagnoses, or
100%.
instead being like, okay, well, maybe I have a predisposition for this thing. My body is more likely to do this thing than other people's bodies
Right.
tend to
hmm
be. But that doesn't mean that, like, I don't say I am hypoglycemic.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, I I have predispositions for sugar issues.
Yeah.
It's
Or like I deal with symptoms of this thing, or yeah, it's the framing of it, I think is really important.
Yeah, because you can
Definitely.
melt away in the I am, right? And you
Mhm.
are whatever you believe you are. So if
Yeah.
you believe that you are the diagnosis, then that's exactly what you're going to melt away into, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
I totally agree. Yeah. I love that all that stuff. I could talk about that all day.
So what kind of things do
Happy
you
to
do?
dive into that for sure. What do you mean for my own health?
Sure. The idea is to kind of like give people ideas of how they can bridge the gap of from where they are to where they want to be in
Mm.
practical
Mhm.
steps. Because, everybody's like, yeah, that's good and fine and
Yeah.
dandy, but the problem is that I can't get out of bed like most days. So if they're
Yeah.
living in that
Yeah,
reality
for
where
sure.
they're not capable of functioning on a day-to-day basis, like that's a big gap to bridge.
Mhm.
Well, we could talk about like,
Yeah,
start small, but for
for
example.
sure. Yeah, and I think like so I think a lot of it I learned was identity level, like we were just talking about. Like, do I want to become this diagnosis or do I want to spend my time like tracking symptoms, which is what I was doing. And I was like really focused on all the negative pieces of it. And then there was a point where I switched and was like, that's probably not good if I'm trying to heal my limbic system and teach myself to get out of this like constant fight or flight. And then I totally switched to like, let's track small wins, even if it's like I stood for long enough to make a smoothie today. Like my wins were so sad for like probably 6 months. It was like I really struggled to think of something good to say, but I feel like it's very practical, small steps at first is what helped me the most, and shifting that mindset was really helpful. Um, but I did a lot with, I think visualization is a huge part of it, and I feel like part of it for me was I didn't feel like I deserved to heal, so I wouldn't heal because I just was like something was comfortable about being sick and I couldn't picture myself healthy. And so I had to get over that with like a lot. I did EMDR. I did like a lot of therapies and things, but there's a lot of things that I can definitely touch on in that regard for sure.
Yeah, the mind is powerful. If you don't believe that you can get better and you don't see a, if
Yeah.
it's so hard to experience a reality that you've never experienced before. You have to know what those feelings feel like in order to get there. Or else
Mhm.
you're just kind of like, I hope it gets better. I want to
Right.
get better, but like I don't actually even know what better is.
And what would
And
I do if I was better? Like I
yeah.
had no idea. I had no idea. Yeah, it's interesting.
Do you come from a background of other people in your family having similar issues and
So not similar issues, but my mom, so my family growing up, we none of us really dealt with health conditions at all. We were pretty like all pretty healthy, traveled a lot, just normal family things. And then when I was 18, I went to a summer camp to work for the summer, and like 2 days in, my dad called me and he's like, "Your mom has breast cancer." And I just like fell to the ground. I didn't know anyone there. I was like sobbing because it's obviously like very disruptive news when you're so young. My mom was like 41 at the time. And so she kind of changed her entire mindset around health after that. She didn't want to get chemo, so she kind of went alternative and did a bunch of genetic testing to see like the probability of it recurring and if she had like particular genes and things. And she completely transformed, like, no sugar, like organic everything, changed her diet, changed her lifestyle. So nobody's had the same symptoms I've had, but I feel like there's definitely like a learning that came from that and the cancer and like how she kind of changed, like I said, nutrition and things like that to help herself get better. And she's doing great now, and that was like 20 years ago. So it's working. She's healthier than she's ever been. She's running around playing tennis all over the country, so she's doing really good.
well, good. How long was summer camp? Was it like a week
Uh,
or a month?
no, I worked for the whole summer, like a
Oh,
couple
okay.
years in a row. Yeah, it was just like a little camp I went to growing up as a kid, and then I was like, well, I think I want to be a counselor there. So yeah, I taught there for a couple summers. It was very nostalgic, but it was good.
Well, good. Because I was sitting here, I was like, my son leaves for summer camp next week, and
Oh, fun.
I would never call him with bad news over like 'cause he's going to be gone 1 week. Let him enjoy that 1 week,
Yeah,
and then
right,
he'll be
right,
gone.
right. Oh yeah, no, I was there for the whole summer working, so I think they just were like, well, let's let her know. But
Yeah.
it was hard to hear that over the phone. It was only an hour and a half away too. I was like, maybe I could have come home on the weekend and I don't know, but that's okay. Yeah,
Well, I'm glad to hear she's doing better.
she's
Does she
doing
do
great.
the standard chemo radiation stuff?
She didn't do any chemo. She did radiation and some like hormone replacement therapy and some other I can't remember exactly. A lot of detoxing type stuff like hyperbaric and ozone type things. But yeah, definitely did. I think it was like 8 weeks of radiation. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
cancer is usually one that we think is pretty permanent, but everything stems from everything and nothing's concrete.
Hmm.
And there are miraculous healings all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of
Yeah.
have to just figure out what works for you. And we're really good at looking at the physical health aspect. Are we getting diet and exercise? Are we getting
Mhm.
as many toxins as we can out of our
Yeah.
life, which is overwhelming
Mhm.
because a lot of people know that there are toxins in stuff like self-care products,
Right.
but they don't realize that it's also in a lot of synthetic fibers that you're
Yeah.
wearing, synthetic dyes in your clothes. And so, like, natural's best, but it's so hard to find natural fibers. It's like
Yeah.
you have to really specially, like, go looking for
Hmm.
something if you want organic cotton, which
It's
is,
hard.
and it's
Yeah,
usually
it
expensive.
is. It is. So one of my clients, so I have a marketing agency now and I work with supplement companies and practitioners in the functional medicine space. And last week I was in Boise with one of my clients and she's opening this toxin university, which is to teach practitioners about like all of the places toxins are and new protocols because stuff isn't working that they've, previously have used before. And it was so funny because we were sourcing t-shirts for it. And I was like, you realize we have to have 100% cotton shirts. Like, we cannot be giving Toxin University doctors a shirt that has toxins in it. So yeah, we just went through this whole like sourcing thing. And it was like, oh, well, this one has a little bit of something else in it. And I was like, we can't have a teaching platform and then be giving them toxic clothing. So I totally get that.
Yeah, which
Mhm.
I don't want to scare people. It is, the whole
Yeah.
world is scary and people have enough things to be afraid of and whatnot. So just
Yeah.
best. I wear tons of synthetic clothing. I
Yeah.
I basically live in athletic wear.
Hmm.
I'm always just it works for my life.
Yeah.
I play a lot of pickleball.
Oh, I love
Do
that.
yoga,
Cool.
and I'm a mom of like 18 kids. Not
Hmm.
really, but I have two. And then they just, oh, I don't know, over the course of the past month, we went from one extra kid on our block to now there's like eight extra kids
Wow.
on our block. And
Yeah.
I'm getting exactly what I prayed for, exactly what I always wanted, which was
Right.
for
Kids
my house to
everywhere.
be the hangout.
I love
Um, whew, but like it's a
a lot.
sport. Do you have children?
Mm-mm, I don't.
It's a sport. It is an
I
active
imagine.
participant game. And it's a
Hmm.
team sport. And I think a lot of us are lacking in teams these days.
Right.
It's hard to find a
Totally.
partner, much less a whole team.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that definitely. Yeah, I'm in the dating scene now and it's tough. It's tough. But it's okay.
Yeah, so the simple switch I have done since not only is cotton or, wool can get kind of hot. It's very
Mm.
hot where I live. It's
Hmm.
very muggy. We don't even really have a winter. We have
Yeah.
a month or two of might get cold, might not, who knows.
Right.
We get one snow a year if we're lucky. So very
Wow.
from where you live, it's very tropical type
Right.
energy here.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
cotton's really about the only thing that you could really work with where I'm located, and it's hard to find. So, my happy medium is that I just wear whatever during the day, and then at night I
Mm.
sleep in cotton, which is
Smart.
the best simple switch that you could do.
Really smart.
You spend so much time in your bed. That's
Yeah.
where you really want to prioritize being.
Your sheets and your, yeah, pajamas and everything. Yeah. Totally makes sense. That's really smart. Yeah. I think the thing that always is helpful to me in the way that I frame the nervous system is what you want to do is just create more capacity to deal with like stressors. And I feel like it's the same with toxins as if you do all the practices and like you said, you detox and you eat healthy and you're aware of it, then it's almost like you're clearing out. I always call it like this toxic bucket that just fills in your body and like you get toxins in your water and in the food and in the air and everything. But if you're actively trying to be smart about things and detox and take whatever supplements and eat healthy, then it's almost like you're draining enough of that bucket so that when you do encounter toxins, because you will always encounter them, your body can handle it, right? It's like when they build up. And it's the same, I think, with the nervous system of like if you're so dysregulated, you're just like, I have no capacity to deal with stress at all. So it just puts me in fight or flight immediately. And so I think like a lot of what I learned about healing was about creating more capacity for things. Like, what are the practices I can do every day to allow myself the space to kind of move through things easier, or the space to like clear the toxins out myself and things like that. So it is scary because it's like, well, no matter what I do now, like I went through all my makeup, I went through all, the home care stuff. That stuff's fairly easy, but then it's like you can't avoid it. They're literally everywhere. And no matter what you do, if you walk outside your house, you're going to be exposed to things, but it's also like learning tri tips like that you just shared. That's like, what's an easy way that you can work on that at home without being overwhelmed by it? Like not throwing all your clothes away because nobody can afford to do that, Like no, none of us can throw our wardrobes away and just like buy all new, everything organic. But that's a great swap, and I love that idea because you're spending like a third of your life in bed, so that totally makes
Mhm.
sense. Smart.
Yeah, it's crowding out. It's
Hmm.
crowding out the bad with the good, little by
Yeah.
little, the best you can.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm a
Yeah.
big proponent of minimalism and
Hmm.
being aware of the hold that consumerism has on all of
Hmm.
us. Because,
Hmm.
like, we can talk about how expensive the $50 cotton shirt is with non-toxic
Yeah.
dyes and organic fibers or
Mm.
whatever, whatever, whatever. But, and it sounds expensive when you think about, one shirt,
Right.
but that's usually, it's a, we've been trained to gather materials and things and objects and
Hmm.
have a whole wardrobe full of clothes.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
the best thing that we could do, honestly, is minimize that to where we don't have more than we need and we're not, if you buy five shirts for $5,
Hmm.
chances are that they're poor quality. They're not gonna last.
Yeah.
Like I stopped buying clothes from big box stores like Walmart and
Hmm.
stuff, Target, years and years and years and years ago. That was one of the first things that I cut out because I noticed that
Hmm.
yes, the shirt is $5 to $10, but then it only lasts me 6 months, 8 months, a year if
Exactly.
I'm lucky before they start unraveling on
Yeah.
you, and they're so thin. Whereas the shirt that I bought from the what was that? There was a shirt that I bought that was for a good cause. It was like some kind of elephant
Ooh.
something another.
Okay.
And it was like $25, which for a 20-year-old is a lot of money for one shirt.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that shirt lasted me for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
Not only did it last me, but when I put it on, I felt good because the energy that was tied to it was one that was helping
Hmm.
rather than hurting. Because, fast fashion is
Yeah.
oftentimes made across seas in by people who don't live in the greatest of standards and are
Hmm.
suffering, and all of that
Totally.
energy does get into the things that we consume and own,
Yeah,
and the energy
definitely.
of the things around us influence us.
Yeah, and one of the things I have talked a lot about with the nervous system is also just like your environment too. And
Mhm.
like for me, I'm such a like I grew up in a home that was borderline hoarding, I would say, and just clutter everywhere and like no surface was ever clean and there was just piles and piles and piles. of things. And so when I grew up, I realized I became the complete opposite, where it was like absolutely nothing can be on any counter at any time. Otherwise, my brain can't focus on anything. And I'm just like, it's like such a high need for me because I don't know, I started doing a little research into it, and what I read about was that your brain, if there's like mess around you all the time, then your brain's constantly on, and it's like, oh, we need to pick that up. Oh, we need to do this. But if you can create a space that's clean and like at least organized, everything has a place to go, then that actually is really helpful for your nervous system too. So, I get that. Like, there's so many things that we encounter daily that I think impact our health in a way that we wouldn't ever think. Like,
Hmm.
oh, how clean my house is matters for my nervous system, but it does. Or,
Hmm.
what I'm putting on my face. Some people still don't even know there's toxins in lotions and makeup and like everything that you're putting on your body. It's interesting because I feel like people are becoming more aware of it now, but there's still a pretty big gap of, what's available and where do you even source it from. And I feel like I couldn't off the top of my head even name a clothing store. I mean, I shop at Free People because it's like fair trade and it's good quality, of the materials, but it's really expensive. It's like 3 to 5 times more than you would pay anywhere else. So, other than that, I feel like I can't even name a store where I'm like, oh, this is a really good, non-toxic clothing store. So I feel like there's gotta be a better way to like get the word out to people. If I can't even name one and I'm like in this land, this world. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
interesting.
Pact is one that's
Oh yeah.
I used to get all my stuff from Pact, but
Mhm.
PACT for people
Yes.
interested.
I did look at that one before. Yeah.
Yeah. But most of my stuff now is secondhand. I get everything from thrift
Okay.
stores because
Amazing.
things that are older are better quality and
Mhm.
last longer and oftentimes are much less
So
toxic
smart.
anyway. So,
That's so smart. Yeah, I do imagine just like going in there and looking at labels. It's kind of fun too, because you'll
mhm,
discover like, ooh, like this is a hidden treasure
mhm.
and it has, good materials. That sounds like a fun like afternoon activity. I would
Oh
love
yeah.
doing that actually.
I love thrifting,
Yeah.
and then I go to yard sales, and then
Mhm.
just me and my friends pass things along. You know, their
Right.
parents, their mom or grandmother, or my mom or grandmother. You know, they all like to thrift and yard sell and stuff,
Yeah.
and they'll collect all of these things, and then they'll give them to us, and then we'll trade and pass them around. Who wants this one? And so that's a really good community building
Yeah. Yeah.
exercise for people.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I do that. Community is another thing that I think, when I was healing, I really didn't have. And I feel like a lot of people are just super isolated when you're sick, right? Like it's hard to find. So for me with community, I feel like I found it on Facebook groups of people who have like Lyme and mold and everything, but then it becomes this pretty negative, like fear-based space where people are just like suffering. And then it's hard, to get out of that mindset. So yeah, community is definitely another like great thing to build if you're sick and you're dealing with chronic symptoms or if you just want like an improved quality of life. I think it's important.
I think it's a necessity. You know, me and my grandmother were talking about this the other day about how uh, our culture
Mhm.
for a long time was okay, your needs are met. What do you want from me? You know, like, and
Mhm.
as far as needs go, we mean food, shelter, water,
Yeah.
clothing, you know, your basic needs, your
Mhm.
basic bottom Maslow's pyramid blocks.
Right.
And anything extra is you're asking too much. Oh, what
Mhm.
do you mean you need somebody to talk to? What do you mean you need a shoulder to cry on? What do you mean you
Yeah.
just want somebody to go to the grocery store for you or with
Right.
you? Oh, what are you talking about? What do you and
The
you know,
luxury.
yeah, 'cause the society the culture is if you need anything, you let me know. And
Hmm.
what they mean is if you're stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire, I will come get
Right.
you.
Yeah.
If but if you're just having a hard day, don't call me
Hmm.
and complain about it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm busy. And it's such a we could go in 1,000 different directions to why we don't have the community and the support system that we need. And
Hmm.
it's not just sick people. Healthy people don't have the support
Everyone.
system a lot of times that they need.
Yeah.
But then you could argue how much of not having a community and a support system causes the sickness.
Hmm.
Everything's an internal feedback loop. And
Yeah.
healthy people generally have like if you can if you have all of your needs met, and I don't mean just food, shelter, water, clothing, all of the, basic bare bottom bones,
Mhm.
but you have your emotional support and your mental support and your, you know, little bit of extra for fun
Mhm.
and the things that you want, then you
Yeah.
can start. It's like it takes all of that to be able to get people to be like, okay, yeah, I'll hang out with you and listen to you have a bad day or
Yeah.
whatever. And, it's selfishness and it's greed, but you have to look at it from all the different points of view to where up until recent times, I think it was like somewhere around the 1920s, somewhere between the 1920s and the 1950s is when
Mhm.
things started shifting towards, at least in our country, at least in the United States, okay, it's
Mhm.
very different all over the place, but people were struggling for their food, shelter, water, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
And birth control wasn't a thing, so most people had like 14 kids,
Yeah.
and you're having to work all of the time to be able to provide the bare bones basics for your 14
Mhm.
children.
Right.
And you can't give each one of them the emotional and mental support that they need.
Right.
So then the culture became shoo shoo, go on,
Figure it out. Yeah.
figure it out. And so communities broke down because families broke down. You know,
Mm.
the nuclear family is a very new thing to
Mhm.
modern history. It came about somewhere around in the 50s, 1950s, something
Yeah.
like, is when for the a blanket generic disposition here for
Mhm.
speaking, the single family home where every one family lived in a house and probably had a vehicle to be able to go and come and do and whatever.
Mm.
That was a brand new thing. That was a brand new
Right.
concept. Up until then, there were big families. Big families lived in one place. So you had not only
Generation.
your parents
Mhm.
and your brothers and sisters, but you also had aunts and uncles,
Right.
cousins, uh, grandparents. You had a whole ecosystem per
Mhm.
family, which was much more supportive. So as we gained the ability because you needed that many people to just
Yeah.
survive,
Mhm.
you needed everybody working on the farm to grow the food and to tend to the goats and
Right.
to, gather the eggs and to watch the babies and to all the things, right?
Mhm.
Cook the food. The fact that we have to eat 3 times a day is obnoxious.
Right.
And so when things became more prosperous, and then we started sectioning off, which was sold to us, there was like some sort of I am not, it's been so many years since I've even thought about this concept, but there was business owners or whatever who figured out that if they made a bunch of houses and then told us we
Mm.
all could, have your own space, because that's not
Right.
something that people had, you didn't have your own space if you're living with 15 other people. And
Mhm.
suddenly we have the prosperity to where you can have your own space. That sounded really nice, really enticing. So it was sold to us as a better happier way of living. You don't have, and then now, so we're all sectioned off. We're
Yeah.
not forming these relationships like we used to. So we don't have those strong bonds between family members, and we don't have we don't have the communication skills
Right.
to navigate conflict, which is inevitable. Whereas if you have 15 people living in the same house, you have to be comfortable with conflict. You
Right.
have to
Hmm.
figure out how to manage
Get
your
along.
tone and
Yeah.
get along. So we started losing these. And people so badly want to blame the internet and social media and texting
Yeah.
for our inability to communicate. But it started happening before then. It started happening way before then. Like, bless their hearts, my grandparents raised me. I love them so
Mhm.
much. They're only just now figuring out how to properly communicate.
My gosh.
You know?
That's funny.
And they
Yeah.
didn't have internet. They didn't have
Hmm.
access to texting. They only had face to face.
Right.
And still they didn't know how to communicate because we lost that when we started sectioning off and we didn't and then villages turn like actual villages where you have whole towns living together became
Yeah.
fewer and far between. Everything was more spaced out, so you're not interacting with the same people on a regular basis. Everybody's isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all having to collectively learn how to communicate and live together and find harmony and, you know,
Right.
bless the internet with all of its information. We have to overcorrect. We always overcorrect before we come back to like a
Hmm.
balanced state.
That's true.
So now we're like, now every single one of us knows what red flags are. We're
Too
like,
much information. Yeah.
oh,
Hmm.
I had no idea. Like, I always knew that me and this person in my family didn't get along,
Right.
and I never could figure out exactly what it was. Now I understand that they're a narcissist.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. So then we overcorrect, and honestly, oftentimes we think that we're holding boundaries when in reality we're just creating our own red flags and problems because now we're
Yeah.
avoidant. Now
Hmm.
we're instead of creating boundaries, we're ghosting.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
We
So,
don't know how to communicate. Yeah, I agree with that. There's a book that I read recently that is probably the life-changing book I've ever read, and it's called Nonviolent Communication.
ooh,
And my ex, we were dating at the time, but he had recommended it to me, and he was like, "You need to read this book." He only mentioned it once, so of course I like went and bought it, read it, and I was like, I'm not a violent person. I'm like the most non-violent, like peaceful person. Like, why are you recommending this book to me? But the entire book is basically about how do you speak to people without making them feel defensive. So how do you have hard conversations with people where you're owning your own feelings? You're not blaming like you did this to me, so that like made me mad. It's a whole framework, and
yes.
I feel like if everyone in the world could read this book and like implement the things that are in it, we would be such a happier society. I found it fascinating because I would try it on like really difficult work situations. I would try it back on my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, I wonder if he's gonna notice if I use this framework on him. Like, is he gonna say anything? And he never really noticed, but the whole like concept of it is like you state a factual thing that happened. Hey, when you didn't text me for 3 days, you state your feeling about it. I felt dismissed or I felt sad not hearing from you. And then you clearly ask for a need. Like, would you be willing to at least text me once a day? What do you think? So it's like more of a conversation, but you're clearly saying, like, there's no arguing that that behavior happened, right? You're not saying, like, you always ignore me or you never text me. You're saying, hey, that 3 days that you didn't text me made me feel I felt this way. And how do you
Mhm.
argue with someone's feelings? You can't. It's just like
Oh, they do
it's such a
though.
smart, yeah,
They
it's such
will.
a smart framework though. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the best way to present it and then also give a way forward that's like, would you be willing to talk about this is what I need. And I don't know, I just feel like we don't grow up having those conversation skills. Like nobody teaches us that in school. It's all us just trying to like figure it out together and like you learn from your experiences. But that book is absolutely incredible. It's changed the entire way that I communicate with like friends, family, coworker, everyone. It's so good.
Yeah, I do a similar thing. It's like encapsulating in positivity. So like you're like, look, I know you're
Ooh.
really busy, but when you
Mhm.
didn't text me back for this many days, it really hurt my feelings. I'm probably insecure, but if you're gonna be in my life, I kind of need us to connect
Yeah,
at least sometimes. What
that's
would be a
that's
better way for you to communicate? Do you prefer this way, or this way?
I
I
love
really want you to
that.
be in my life.
See, I would be like, that's so nice. She's like reaching out to me and complimenting me and like, yeah, like I'll do whatever. Like, let's figure it out. I feel like, yeah, it's not putting people on the defensive. I feel like that's often what happens is it's like, you never do this, you always do this, and it's this like criticism rather than a collaborative effort. And I feel like your example is so collaborative and it's like vulnerable and it's beautiful, but it's also like, how do we work together so that we can continue being in each other's lives, you know? It's not like you're making them feel like a bad person. You're just, this is what I need. Like, let's talk about it. I love that.
Yeah, I I try to really dive into ultimate honesty, like
Mhm.
just raw, real, as honest as I can be. And I find that it lowers everybody else's defenses also. Because if you notice, if you're aware to when you're interacting with people, most people are tense and nervous. And,
Yeah.
even the ones that maybe don't seem like they are, if you can get past the first little like, and then you realize that they actually are anyway. So,
Mhm.
something that helped me with my own insecurities was noticing that everybody you encounter is insecure.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single one of them, every single one of them, except for maybe the narcissists. And
They're not aware enough to be self-aware enough. That's
yeah,
funny.
I had a mom Tuesday. We went to a homeschool chess club meetup thing, and I took my
Cool.
laptop and it was at a library. I hid in the furthest corner that I could find next to a plug in the air conditioner because it was a very old building. It was very hot in there. And
Mhm.
she came in there and she found me and she sat and she started talking and I am a nervous talker,
Yeah.
especially in real life. I'm one of the most anxious people you'll meet.
Really?
Yeah, I always have been. I spent the first like 20, well, from age like 8 or 9 until age about 23, I didn't talk
Mhm.
hardly at
Okay.
all. I was almost mute. Um,
Wow.
I couldn't make words come out of my mouth in
Mhm.
a public setting or a group setting. Have you
Mhm.
ever seen The Big Bang Theory?
Mhm.
Okay, Raj, you know how he
Yeah.
was? I was like that.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
wasn't just girls, it was just everybody. I just couldn't talk to
Hmm.
people. And
That's so
so
funny.
in person, I still kind of have a lot of those issues
Hmm.
because I'm a all or nothing. I don't have dials, I have switches. And that's why I
Mm.
can get on here and talk no problem because we came here to talk. And
Yeah.
we came here to talk about in-depth things, you know? Uh, we're people in real life aren't, and they don't want to talk about in-depth things. Uh,
Yeah.
most of them aren't interested. Most of them don't want to because it makes them uncomfortable with
Mhm.
themselves, with other people, and, you know, facing the things that we're uncomfortable about, that we're insecure about, is the best way to move forward and get past that. So I'm
Mhm.
notorious for being like in real life, face to face interactions, being like, hold on, I'm having a panic attack, or sorry, let me
Oh.
stumble over all of these words really fast,
Hmm.
or hold on, let me just,
Hmm.
trip and fall, like
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, whatever. Because if you just, how many of us have been at a store countertop trying to pay for our things? And people might not do this as much anymore because we all use cards for things. But if you remember back when we used cash sometimes, and you're sitting there trying to count out how much you need, and there's
Oh,
a line
yeah.
behind you, and
Yeah.
suddenly, just because there's a line behind you, suddenly you don't know how to count money. Suddenly you don't know how to math. So
Right.
in cases like that, if you're just like, sorry, I am really freaking out about the amount of people behind me that I'm holding up right now. Let's all take a breath here and
Right.
we'll figure it out together. And like if you have a smile on your face, that breaks the ice for other
You
people.
can
And most people are
diffuse
generally
it.
really nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
oh, you're fine. We're okay. Here, let me help you. But it's
That's
so
so
hard for us to do that because we've been so conditioned for perfection with the
Mhm.
media and everything we consume. And I say media as in like, TV, movies, magazines,
Yeah.
books. We all want to sound like we know what we're doing. We all
Mhm.
want to sound like we have everything figured out and all put together and
Mhm.
uh, put our insecurities back on the shelf, hide them. Hide them. Don't look
Right.
at
Mhm.
what's going on behind the screens. The amount of people that come onto the show and have their backgrounds blurred, and I'm instantly like, oh, why are we
Oh,
doing this? Like, we're real people.
yeah.
And that's the problem. That's why we've created such a rift
Mhm.
is, well, not so much anymore, but used to there was a huge rift between the people who were on TV, the people who were in the magazines, the people who were in politics,
Mhm.
or any doctors and lawyers, anybody that we put up on a pedestal. Everybody else is just like, well, we're just the common folk. Oh, who am I?
Right.
Don't look at me. I'm gonna, poor posture myself down into a little tiny ball
Hide.
so that
Yeah.
yeah, hi.
Mhm.
And that we're just real people. They're real people with
Yeah.
real lives and real problems, and nobody has anything figured out. We're all just
No.
kind of doing things, and as soon as you think you have it figured out, it's all going to shift and change on you. You're going to
Mhm.
get be thrown a curveball. Life's going to be like, "Oh, you think you have everything figured out? Okay, you got space for all of this garbage then."
Right. Take this. Yeah, totally. It's interesting. Yeah, because I do feel like whenever I post on social media. Like I didn't write about my health stuff while I was in it, but I reflected quite a bit after because like going through the Lyme and mold and everything, I actually was married at the time and got divorced because of it. And so it took me a while, like I wanted to process things, but also like I was super open about what I had gone through and like that this had happened and this like how raw I was feeling about the divorce and like not feeling good enough because I couldn't take care of myself and all this stuff and not to like share it from a place of feel bad for me, I'm trauma dumping, but I actually like took the time to process it and think about like a lesson in it and how it could potentially help other people or apply to other people. And I feel like during that process, I kind of got over a bit this like idea of I want everyone to think my life is perfect and like I have all my stuff together because I don't. And then totally switched. Like, I feel like it helped me process being sick and just being able to heal. Like, from little lessons I was sharing that I came out of learning. And I've never had so many people commenting, DMing me, like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm going through something similar. Do you care if we talk about it? And I feel like there's such a fine line of, like I said, trauma dumping. Like, I want attention. Like, you have to kind of be grounded and, like, why am I sharing this? Am I sharing this so people feel bad for me, or am I sharing it because I want to process it and I want to, like, open up to help other people. But I've never felt so understood and seen as I did when I started sharing like pretty raw stuff on social media, like sharing through that process and like how it impacted me because people aren't posting about their divorces. They're not posting about being so sick. And like I lost 35 pounds in like 6 or 7 weeks because I stopped eating because I couldn't swallow. And like so many things happened to me at that time. But then it's like I've made so many close relationships because of the vulnerability. And I think it's if people could experience like the side of social media where it's like I don't I'm not concerned that people think I'm perfect. I want to be real and authentic and genuine and share good things and things that I'm struggling with. And I feel like I love people who can be real. And I feel like people get so caught up in I want to appear to be a certain way that that does create this divide, right? Because then you're like, well, I'm insecure because all my friends are on a beach looking beautiful and like I could never wear that or I'll never have money to do that. Like it just puts you in this comparison mindset where I feel like authenticity and being real and genuine actually does the opposite, where it invites people in. You know, you're not like putting yourself on a pedestal of like, look how beautiful, look how perfect. You're actually saying, like, hey, we're humans and we all struggle. And like, here's something I'm going through. Here's what I'm learning. It's kind of like what you did when you're talking about the counting money. You're reminding people that we're just people, you know, just pointing out, like, I'm a little stressed right now. Like, I hope you can have some grace and compassion and then people are like, "Oh, okay. Like I wasn't thinking about that she could be stressed. I was only thinking about myself and like how annoyed I am because I need to get somewhere in 10 minutes." You know, it's like how do we humanize each other again? I feel like there's so many opportunities to do that.
Yeah, we forget that people are people and most
Yeah.
people are decent and they're doing the best that they can with what they have available to them. And
Hmm.
we just haven't been given any kind of tools to do well.
Yeah.
Like the school system's garbage and
Right.
the social system's garbage and the community system and the food system and the consumer system. Like you name a system, it's a political
Right.
system. It's all garbage.
Yeah.
So how do you take garbage is the only thing you've ever known. It's the only thing you've ever been seeped in and
Right.
experienced. What is the right answer? I
Hmm.
don't know. You don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. We're just kind of throwing noodles at the wall and see what sticks. I can tell you what works for me. I can tell you what works for this person over here because they told me what works for them.
Right.
I helped this person over here throw some noodles at the wall that they didn't know were noodles that they could throw at the wall, and we found some stuff that stuck. And what works for me doesn't work for this person, but what works for this person doesn't work for me. And there are, we just little by little dig ourselves out of the garbage the best
Hmm.
we can. And
Yeah.
that inspires other people to do the same because, we can't save anybody. We can only save ourselves. And then once we do save ourselves, we have the capacity to help other people.
Yeah.
But even then, we can only do so much. We can only be supportive. We can only be kind and compassionate and empathetic and understanding. And, well, would you like some advice? Would you
Hmm.
like I got book recommendations. I can tell you what this book
Right.
said and that book said, and maybe some of that sounds interesting for you. But
Hmm.
there is a lot of people out there that there are a lot of people out there that
Hmm.
they don't want to be better. They think they do.
Right.
They think they do. But
Hmm.
because I mean the human mind is crazy, for lack of a better word. It has us all over the place and most of us don't have the I don't want to say mental capacity, the bandwidth,
Yeah.
mm, the awareness. Because that also puts a lot of responsibility back on us, and that's scary. Responsibility is scary. Could someone please just tell me what to do? I don't want anybody. Tell me what to do in a way that's like optional. Can you give
Yeah.
me a bullet point list that's optional so I can
Right.
choose whether or not I'm going to do it or not?
So funny. Yeah, it's true though. It's true. And I think like the point that you were making about community too and like the nuclear families being dissolved or starting the larger families being dissolved into nuclear families, but one of the like super surprising things that happened after so when I was sick I was living in California and like I said was married we were together for 10 years. I was sick the whole time. And then because of the mold situation, we got divorced because he didn't have the capacity to deal with that. And I understand that. And there's like no blame or anything in that regard. But when I moved back to Michigan, I was super lonely and I felt very isolated. And like I had friends, I grew up here, but my friends were married and had kids and had created their own families and they just didn't have time to really hang out with me. And I was still like pretty sick at the time. And so I had made this group on Facebook so I live in Grand Rapids, so I called it West Michigan Social Club. It was just like, let's hang out and do things together. Let me like invite 50 friends that I know from college and high school and see if anyone's available. And I'll just like post things. Like we'll do little picnics or we'll like, go to the beach together or we'll barbecue together. And I wasn't expecting that it would grow as fast as it did, but in probably 4 months, we had like 5,000 people, and 2 years later, there's 20,000 people. And I've never done any marketing, I've never done any like promotion of it. It's literally just people starving for community and connection. And like, we encourage people to make introduction posts and they'll tell their story. And it's a lot of people that are like, I just moved here from this state. I don't know anyone. Or like, I just got divorced and all my friends are taking her side or whatever. Like, people are always just kind of sharing, like, pretty vulnerably, like, why they got there and their life circumstances, or maybe they're like getting out of a toxic relationship and they need support, or a little corner of this like genuine people sharing things and like becoming friends. Like even right after this, I'm going out to dinner with a bunch of girls I met through some of our millennial women's events. And like we get together multiple times a week. I was just on one of their boats yesterday, like wake surfing. And so it's crazy, like the especially post COVID, I feel like the way people crave to be plugged back into community, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, people are like, hey, does anybody want to get dinner tonight? And you'll have like 20 people comment who have no idea who you are. They've never met you, you've never had a conversation, but then they go and like every experience I've heard from it, minus one or two things have happened, but every single time it's like, we had the best time. They come back and post pictures. So it's so interesting, like that we went through that many years of isolation with COVID and like not being able to interact in that way. And I feel like there's this like coming back to finding that community again that's happening, this like resurgence of how do we surround ourselves with people and support, and how do we like maybe even like co-regulate our nervous systems, because I think that's a big thing too. You can't necessarily always do it on your own. And so it was just interesting when you were talking about the families and how we used to have these intergenerational larger family systems that would provide that sort of support and now we don't. And it's fascinating that something like that would grow so fast, but it just goes to show you that like people really are searching for that, whether they're sick or not. I mean, this is like a mix of every kind of person from every walk of life, and they're in there for whatever reason they're in there, but they're there to find their group of humans, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we're communal creatures. We
Hmm.
uh we live in herds. We live in packs.
Hmm.
And we can't truly be healthy if we're on our own. We're
Yeah.
not snakes, we're mammals. And
Hmm.
that's what I was talking with someone the other day uh, about a family member who is depressed. And they were like, well, they just want to lay in bed all day. They don't want to get up. They don't want to do anything. They just want to lay there.
Hmm.
And I had to explain to them
Hmm.
that we're communal creatures. And if you get into this depression, this darkness, it is really, really hard for people. And people don't understand unless you've experienced it. I've experienced it. You literally cannot get out of bed unless you have a
Yeah.
reason to. And, the
Mhm.
reason to, again, people don't understand if they haven't experienced it because they'll be like, well, the sun's shining, it's a good day. Get out, there's your reason. I'm like, that's not, okay.
Not
Uh,
enough.
so like they can get up and go to work sometimes, but because that's a reason, or they can
Mhm.
get up because they're, well, hold on before I even get to that part. I was, it takes somebody to be like, hey, why don't you get up and come do this thing with me?
Right.
But when everybody's living their lives, it takes a village. You can't have just one
Mhm.
person being the one who says that every single time because that one person's going to get burnt out and they're going to start
Yeah.
getting sick. It takes everybody. It takes a whole community, one by one, of today I'm going to text her and ask her if she wants to go get lunch.
Right.
Tomorrow, you text her and see if she wants to go on a walk to the park.
Mhm.
The next day, this person should text her and see if
Yeah.
she wants to go to the creek. I don't know, whatever the thing is. And together, we can slowly pull that person out of depression.
Right.
But it takes multiple people. And,
Mhm.
you know, children can do that for you. But we also got on this whole tangent of how this person who's depressed doesn't want to even get out of bed to take care of her children. It's like, well, so I am a certified birth doula. I don't currently practice because I have small children and no babysitter that can be here at 3 in the morning at
Right.
the drop of
Random
a hat.
times. Mhm.
So I hope to get into it. I hope to get back into it in the future. But something that we don't realize is that people are going to hate me for this, but epidurals cut off the bonding emotions.
Mm.
Does it happen to everybody? No, but it happens to a
Right.
lot of mothers.
Right.
And when you're in labor, the pain is so otherworldly, but has a purpose to get your body to do the things it needs to do for the baby to be born.
Right.
And the reward is as soon as the baby is born, a flush of different hormones, different chemicals in the body, flood the system so that you bond with the baby, so
Mhm.
that you will love it, so that you will take care of it because it is completely helpless without you, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I was explaining this to this person via, I said, when a baby bird hatches, it imprints on the first thing it sees, right? And
Mhm.
that's what it follows around. That's what it thinks its mama is. And
Cute.
it can imprint on a freaking robot if that's the first thing it sees that's moving around and stuff. It doesn't really differentiate too much.
Right.
But humans, we get a flood of hormones that instantly bond us with the baby so that we will love it and take care of it. And
Mhm.
epidurals sometimes, a lot of the time, block these hormones.
Wow.
So then we don't get those bonding hormones. And so, it happened with me with my son. Uh,
Mm.
when he was born, everybody always tells you like, oh, when you have a baby, it's just this grand thing, and
Yeah.
as soon as you see it, you'll just be amazed that this is yours, and you'll love it so much, and you'll do anything for it, and you would
Right.
die for this baby, just instantly connected. They handed me my son as soon as he was born, and I just kind of looked at him,
Yeah.
like my hands are up. I was like, this is okay. This is mine. You want me to
Right.
take this home and
What do
keep
I
it
do
alive?
now? Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. So for months and months and months and months, it was so hard to be a
Mm.
mother to him because I was so irritated and resentful. And when he cried, I was like, it was like nails on a chalkboard. And I took care of him because I was intelligent enough to know that I needed to and that I
Right.
should. Um, and like I did eventually bond to him, and I do love he's my world. I love my children now. Thank God, because there for a while I was like, oh, when's this gonna show
Yeah.
up? Love
Hmm.
thing gonna that connection that he will talk about gonna happen. But then when my daughter was born, there wasn't time for an epidural. I didn't want one,
Oh,
but then when
I
push came to
get
shove, I
that.
did want one.
Yeah.
But by that time it was too late to get one, and she was born
Hmm.
completely without one. And so I did experience that rush of hormones and that
Wow.
rush of emotions. And when they handed her to me, it was a completely different experience. And
Interesting.
angels sang for
Oh my
years. Every time I looked at her, I was like, I was
Wow.
so infatuated with this baby that I was like, this is mine. Nobody can touch it. Nobody can
Right.
have it. This is forever, like right here, a part of me.
Wow.
Um,
That's crazy.
it was completely different. And I
Hmm.
just feel like we've been, so not to get off on such a tangent that now
You're
we're talking about childbirth and whatnot,
fine.
but to bring it back around, the
Yeah.
whole point is that we've been set up for failure.
Yeah.
And all of our, everybody is starving for connection. We're starving for those bonds that we know in our heart and soul is a part of the human experience, and most of us don't have it.
Right.
And we don't know how to create it. And we're so resentful because the people we are supposed to be bonded to, our parents, our siblings, our cousins, our aunts, our grandparents, are oftentimes the ones that we are least bonded to.
Right. Very true.
So then it's just trauma on top of trauma because being loneliness is more detrimental to your health than smoking or alcoholism.
Yeah.
Is that not crazy? Loneliness, it's
It's
measurable, is more
right.
detrimental to your health than than vices that cause cancer and death and stuff. That's
Hmm.
crazy. And then we have so that in itself is trauma. And then we have the trauma of resentment where we're like, you're my mother and you're supposed to love me. And why don't
Right.
you? But
Hmm.
it's not really her fault that she was a product of the system and told to fear birth and get the epidural. And so she didn't experience those natural chemicals in the
Yeah.
body that bonded her to me, to us,
Hmm.
to you, to whoever. And it just kind of creates a cascade of events, you know? And if we're
Hmm.
not, most people don't have the wits about them to know that these things are a thing,
Yeah.
to look for the information, to try to fix the problems in their life. They just kind of, float around being mad and blaming
Hmm.
others and playing victim and eating
Yeah.
McDonald's. It's full circle. And
Full circle.
then
Yeah.
creating.
No, it's interesting too. Like, I think about along with the connection piece, like, my brother was a C-section. He's older than me. So I was a C-section. And so,
I
like,
was
how did
too.
that impact my health? I was also formula fed. And, like, again, everybody makes the best choice, like you said, that they know how to make at the time. But, like, C-section and formula fed, and then me having chronic illness, like, part of me has wondered, like, would I not have been dealing with all of these things had I been a vaginal birth, had I been breastfed, had I like gone that route? And like, it's interesting how big of an impact that moment can have on so many things, on your health, the bonding, the connection, all of that. It's like such an impactful moment in our lives, and then like to be started out without that like microbial support is also
Mhm.
interesting to me. So I worked for a probiotic company. I was the head of marketing and events at, it's called Microbiome Labs. They make a spore-based probiotic called Megaspore Biotic. But I worked for a probiotic company for 4 years, and the amount of education that I just kept hearing, like, how important like the birthing is. And like now they have things where you can re-inoculate with your own like vaginal microbiome to help the baby if you're a C-section baby. There's so many things now that I feel like didn't exist back then. But yeah, just learning like the importance of gut health and of like how we start out our lives and like the impact that has, or even having pets growing up can impact your immune system in a good way. Like it's good to have pets around. It's good to be able to like play in the dirt and do all of these things that a lot of us did as kids that I feel like kids aren't necessarily doing as much anymore because we have iPads and social media and all of these other things that are, maybe a distraction to playing outside and digging in dirt. It's just interesting, like all the way that the cultures are changing with the advent of like more technology and how that maybe can come back and impact our health too. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And the knowledge is gaining popularity. People are more interested in taking care of themselves and they are
Mhm.
um looking for the information and stuff. But just 10 years ago, I still had people arguing with me about things. My
Mm.
my son is 11, so 11 years ago, I had people who were actively trying to get me not to breastfeed and to
Wow.
formula feed because
Hmm.
they grew up hearing the narrative that it um formula got all of the different
Yeah.
holes in nutrition and whatnot.
Yeah.
Whatever, we were fed so many narratives,
Yeah.
and before the internet you couldn't really fact check anything.
No, you really couldn't.
So people just learned to take information for face value, and then
Hmm.
misinformation became rampant, rampant, and it became very well, this is how we've always done it, or
Right.
this is how we always done it, and you turned out fine. Did I
Mm.
though?
Yeah.
How much of that was my like absolute desire to dig myself out of the hole that I had been put in? You
Right.
know, like,
Exactly.
so things are shifting, things are changing. It just takes
Yeah.
time
For
and it is irritating.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. And I think like having a focus on the things we talked about, like community, like connection, like, yes, health is important and people eat the right things and they can take the supplements, but I feel like we kind of covered the pillars of like what's outside of that immediate like food, supplements, water, all that. Like what are the missing pieces to healing almost, which I think is really fascinating, thinking about the impact of some of those things like childbirth and connection, community, communication, even. Like, how do we heal through communicating in an authentic and genuine way? It's almost like we created a little side book to like natural health, which is like if you're still stuck and you're, trying protocols and they're not working, look at your nervous system. Look at the way you show up to things. Are you being real? Are you being genuine? Do you have people around you that can help you heal? It's kind of like a cool little angle on, healing. And we did go on some tangents, but I feel like it's all coming together in my brain of like, these are like the more alternative supports to like a healthy life that people may leave out of the picture.
Yeah, because we think it's just all diet and exercise. The
Yeah,
end. That's it.
right.
Diet and exercise. Well, I'm eating all the right things and I'm exercising this amount. And like, they break it down to a science. So
Hmm.
they make sure they're getting X amount of protein and X amount of
Totally.
potassium and vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin whatever, whatever. And
Yeah.
they're working out in 3 sets of 15, 35 pounds.
Very
Like
specific.
so
Yeah.
specific.
Hmm.
But, I'm still getting sick. What's happening? Well, your mindset has a lot to do with things, and
Yeah.
your history and your belief systems, people don't
Mhm.
realize. And it sounds crazy. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like we're completely making things up when I tell people. I was sick. I was a sickly kid all up until my early 20s. And my early 20s is when I started learning how to actually take care of myself, because didn't know how, never done that before. And
Mhm.
tried a few things, weren't in the right park at all, like
Right.
not the right ballpark.
Hmm.
Um, so for I say like, gosh, I'm so bad with time frames. I don't know, a few years I got healthy, and then things started kind of like taking a step back, and I was so confused. I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing all the same things that I've been doing that
Yeah.
were working for me, and what am I doing wrong? And I started getting into uh energy work and energy patterns.
Mm.
And I have this enormous book. I don't know if you can. So this right here, that is an entire book, which is about yay thick. It's all
Wow.
about chakras. And
Cool.
so I read it twice, and it brought some ideas into my head that started like connecting dots with me for me.
Hmm.
And what I discovered was both my mother and her mother, so two generations deep at least. I don't really know a whole lot about further back than that, but
Yeah.
were too sickly to take care of their children.
Wow.
My grandmother was eat up with cancer is all that she'll really. That's as far as she talks about it. She's like, oh, I was eat up with cancer and crazy and just
Wow.
couldn't. And the medicine, kept her sick all the time. And then my mom would be like, yeah, we would come home from school and then we would go outside and kind of hide
Mm.
until their dad came home because that was just the safest place because
Wow.
she was completely insane from the cancer treatments, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. And
Hmm.
then when my mom was about the same age, again, I can't exactly tell you what was going on. I just know that she was in and out of the hospital, surgery after surgery.
Wow.
When she couldn't work because she was so sick. When she was home, she didn't really get out of bed or off the couch. I
Yeah.
had to do everything for my little sister for at least 5 or so years while she was too sickly to really do anything. And
Mm.
so just so happened when I got to that age, I started being really sickly all the time too. And as soon as I got the, as soon as it connected in my brain, I was like, I'm following a pattern. I'm following an energetic pattern.
Yeah.
My mother and grandmother were too sickly to take care of their children and when they were my age and had children. So now that I'm that age and have children,
Right.
I am subconsciously following that same pattern because I'm afraid that it's inevitable. Like that's just it's written in my DNA. I can't escape it.
Hmm.
And it was fear and as soon as I decided that that's what was happening, I wasn't sick anymore. And as soon
Wow.
as I was like, that doesn't have to be my story. I don't have to follow that same pattern. I can create my own story. I can
Amazing.
create my own pattern. Genetics aren't everything. Your
Yeah.
disposition isn't everything. It's how you also get a choice and you can, it takes a little bit of strength, more than a
Right.
little bit, more than a little bit, but
Hmm.
I was able to stop being sick, essentially.
Wow.
And then there was an like, there's all that's a vast oversimplification for
Right.
sure.
Hmm.
But, you know, I started realizing that every time I was overwhelmed and needed a break, I would get sick. And
Wow.
I realized that I had this belief in the back of my head that, it's why I talk about hustle culture and go, 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 go all the time in our
Right.
society and culture. Our society and culture, uh, it, gosh, what's the word? It
Glorifies.
glorifies is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It glorifies the hustle and condemns rest.
Right.
So the only time we're allowed to rest is when we're sick.
A hundred
So
percent.
as soon as I started telling myself that I was allowed to rest and not be sick. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay that you're just tired. You can go take a 10-minute nap, love. You
Wow.
can. It's okay. You don't have to be sick to go sit in the bathtub for 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
You can just go do that if it feels nice.
Anytime. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as soon as I figured that out and started giving myself a little, leniency and like, hey, you don't have to run until you're burnt out
Right.
and crash, I wasn't sick anymore.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah, that's incredible. And similar, I know we're probably running out of time, but I could keep talking forever. But similarly, yeah, I feel like I had a really similar experience where I started working on my limbic system and was like, wait a second, like I can reprogram my brain so that I don't have this like panic attack every time I leave my house or every time I enter a store or like it was to the point where every single place I went that wasn't inside my house, I was having the most severe anxiety that I couldn't like control it. I'd be grocery shopping and I would have a panic attack and I'd have to leave my cart in the grocery store because I had this like super ingrained, like if I don't get out of this store right now, I'm gonna pass out. My heart's racing so bad. Like I need to like run to safety and just lay in my car. Like I've done that so many times. And I feel like once I understood energy work too, I did do a lot of energy work and energy healing to unprogram beliefs that I had about my identity and reprogram like better ones. And so I think as soon as I did all of that limbic system work, as that's the only time I started healing. Didn't matter what supplements I was taking at the time. It was literally, for me, it was almost fully energy work and the reprogramming of my brain to be like, thank you for the protection that you're trying to like, do right now. Like, thank you for this. And I know your intentions are good, body. Like, thank you, but we don't have to go this route. Like, we're
Mhm.
good. We're going to go a different way. We're going to be calm. We're going to be grounded. I don't need this like alarm system. But I think, again, to tie back to the point you said about like mindset being so important, I do feel like missing pieces are the energy side of things. We're such energetic beings and like everything has a frequency and all of these things and also the brain, right? Like the impact of our mindset and the brain and like do we believe we deserve to heal? What do we believe about our own identities? And I feel like those for me are the most impactful more than any treatment, more than any protocol, more than any practitioner I saw. And I think I needed both. I think I really needed like the physical protocols too and the detox tools and everything like that. But I never saw more of an impact as when I did the energetic stuff and like the mindset piece too.
Yeah, psychosomatic symptoms are a real thing. Like
Mm.
you can have actual seizures
Yeah,
from being stressed out and anxious, from
that's wild.
being overly emotional. And I
Mhm.
don't say overly emotional as in like not in an unempathetic, uncompassionate way. Like emotions are legitimate and valid no
Mhm.
matter what. Like those are your experiences.
Yeah,
But when you don't, because we've never been taught emotional regulation.
right.
Like the life is a complete and utter nightmare for everyone across the board, whether they realize it or not. Some people live in um what's the word? They avoid it, like avoidance and
Yeah.
gosh,
Denial or
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. And they just don't want to face it, they don't want to look
Yeah.
at it. They don't want to. Um, for example, my grandfather was dying for 10 years at least. At
Hmm.
least he was dying for 10 years. And there were still people who were completely shocked when it happened.
Wow.
And 5 years after he died, they're still stuck there and can't get over it. They're still like,
Wow.
just, I don't know how to live without this person in my life. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you had so long to prepare for this, and you
Right.
just chose to turn a blind eye. You chose to
Yeah.
avoid it. You chose to, and so when we avoid our emotions, or
Hmm.
when we suck them up and, pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps and avoid them, ignore them, stuff them down, and you don't put them into an outlet, you don't let them
Hmm.
escape, they don't go away. They turn inward
Right.
and cause explosions in either the temperamental manner or the disease manner. There's so many diseases that are caused by emotions that were never dealt with. And that sounds like some woo-woo witchy
Hmm.
nonsense, like some new age mumbo jumbo BS. But when you're doing all of the things right, and we're just so, well, some people just it just happens to some people. It's completely random. But
Hmm.
then we look at people who are diagnosed with, say, 4 months to live, you have cancer, you know?
Hmm.
There are people who die in exactly those 4 months to the day. And then there's people who live for another 20 years because they're like, no, 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 not me. Not
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Absolutely not. And the people who are like, no, thank you. Don't want. They're the ones that figure out a way to get up and move on, you
Right.
know?
Hmm. That.
So psychosomatic illnesses or the placebo effect wouldn't work.
Right.
What is the placebo effect? It's a psychosomatic result.
Hmm.
The
Like you
mind
believe
believes
something. Yeah. Hmm.
and the body follows suit. It
Wow.
it's powerful and it's almost too simple for us to
Right.
really get a hold of.
I know.
And a lot
Yeah.
of us don't even realize, just like I didn't, you know, it was psychosomatic that I was getting sick because I was busy and needed a break. It
Mhm.
was, I mean, like you could talk about stress levels and fight or flight versus rest, digest, and heal and all of that. But essentially,
Right.
it was happening because I believed I wasn't allowed to rest if I still
Unless the
had
person, yeah.
ability to go.
Hmm.
And just like I wasn't aware that psychosomatically, I was just following in the footsteps of my parents. I was following the footsteps of my elders, my ancestors. That was the story that was modeled for me.
Right.
Just like I didn't know I was an angry parent until I became not an angry parent.
Mm.
And then you look back and you're like, wow. And you want to beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
But we just like the new baby duck imprints on the
Right.
first thing it sees, humans also take on the patterns of those around them.
Hmm.
And if you've only ever been around these types of patterns, you can't even imagine what the better patterns are because this is
Right.
all you've ever known.
Mhm.
And again, it takes a village. It can't be just because so many times it'll be something like you have a set of parents who came from a really bad upbringing and then they turn out okay, but then their kids end up in jail on drugs, whatever, right?
Right. Like what
Like,
happened?
what happened? I did all the
Mhm.
things right. I gave you good examples. But the problem is that the bad examples were still around, you
Yeah.
know? And kids emulate the people who gave them those emotional needs. So I don't know, was it the crooked uncle who was the one that was laughing and joking and cutting up with the kids because they were hot and in a good mood, whereas the sober parents were probably not in a
Right.
great mood because they were stressed out about bills and work and working all the time and
Mhm.
like it's these little itty bitty subtleties that we don't even notice on a day to day that makes all the difference in the world.
Totally. Yeah. Super insightful. So many good golden nuggets in this conversation.
Huh. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. We can wrap it up anytime you're ready to.
No, it was great. It was great chatting with you. We should do a part two sometime. I feel like that'd be fun.
Sure. Let me know. We have repeat guests on all the time. Well, not all the time, not as much as I would like to,
Yeah,
but it happens.
I love it.
It
No,
happened more if they put in the effort from their end too, like.
yeah, 100%. It works both ways, I feel like. Life is all about reciprocity.
hmm
So I love that. No, it was so nice meeting you and chatting with you. I love the way your brain thinks. I just think there's so many like new perspectives that I was like, I never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. So I appreciated that.
Cool. Awesome. Love it. Tell your friends.
I will. Oh, I will. They watch all my podcasts. They'll be on.
Well, good. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, they're cute.
I've always thought it was hilarious that the people I'm closest to in my life like don't even have Facebook or
Oh
social
yeah.
media or anything. Like they couldn't begin to tell you what any of my
No idea
podcasts
what you
are.
do.
No,
Yeah.
not a clue. They're
Exactly.
like, I don't know. You do online stuff. You do online stuff, right?
Yeah, something online. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's
But
great.
tell
Yeah.
people where they can find you and whatnot.
Yeah. So, two places I've been sending people. One is we didn't even get into this, but I have a patient and a practitioner archetype quiz. So upsellhealth.com/archetype. And that is if you're trying to heal and you don't know, if you've never considered like what you need as a person trying to heal, you can take a short little quiz. I think of it like the Enneagram for functional medicine, but it'll put you in a little type and it'll kind of tell you like what's a good brand or practitioner or type that you match with. And then the other one is upsellhealth.com/app. So based on the archetypes, I have an app I'm creating if you're interested in eventually being paired with functional medicine practitioners who are in alignment with like what you want, what you need, your root causes, your archetype, your preferences, and all of that. I'm creating a little app to help people find healers faster because that was a big issue for me when I was healing, is it took me like 10 years to really find someone that I was aligned with that also understood the energetic side and understood the mindset side. And, there's so many missing pieces. So, yeah, you can find me either of those. I'd love to chat more about all of this in the future.
Cool. Um,
Yeah.
Something that just kept getting in the back of my mind or like from earlier in the conversation that I just wanted to mention really fast is
Mhm.
that greenwashing is a thing.
Yeah. Oh,
So a lot
yeah.
of people don't realize that, they look at
Totally.
the branding and they're like, "Oh, this has all natural
Healthy.
colors. It must be natural. It's got like leaves on it, you know?"
Gosh, that's so true. And the word natural doesn't mean anything at
hmm
all. And yeah, we could go down so many rabbit holes of like what is cage free actually and what is free range and like even those words are very deceptive. So I feel like the whole marketing of food and wellness is very tricky. It's tricky to navigate if you're just looking at labels and things.
Yeah. So I felt like I needed to mention that for people.
No, it's
Oh,
very
well.
true. It's a good rabbit hole if you're a Googler and you just Google greenwashing, you can go down many different tunnels there and
Man,
just learning about it. Yeah,
everything's a rabbit hole.
I know.
Everything's a rabbit hole, and it's
It is.
so hard, especially with like like you can find evidence to support anything that you want to believe
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
It's there's actual like Harvard studies to prove this, and then there's actual
Mhm.
Stanford studies to disprove it, and like who
Totally.
do you believe?
You can cherry pick all of the evidence too. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like you're a researcher, so I think you would be a good source to filter through.
I do my
Of like,
best. Nobody's
yeah,
perfect.
no,
Uh,
definitely.
my The way I kind of cope with everything is I take literally everything with a grain of salt and a sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
My whole thing is it doesn't even matter if it's true or if it's false. Is it helpful?
Right.
That's it. Is it
Yeah.
helpful?
Yeah. Right.
Because we can true or false ourselves till we're dead in the grave and get nowhere. We can fight all day about who's right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Is it helpful? Like point A to point B, is that going to help me right now? Like,
Right. Heal or be a better person or yeah, is it helpful? I like that
You
framing.
can wake up tomorrow and decide that you're a cat.
Yeah.
If that makes, if, okay, are people going to think you're crazy and look at you funny? Probably,
Yeah.
but like whatever. If it
Hmm.
makes you happy, it,
Right.
again, life is a nightmare. Whatever helps you cope is there.
Yeah.
Don't hurt anybody. Be nice, compassionate, loving. Figure out a way to make it bearable.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Totally. I agree. I love that. That's funny. Very cool.
All right. Well, I could absolutely talk forever.
I
So,
know, same. Well, yeah, thank you for having me. I loved chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll hopefully part two sometime. I would love to come back and talk more.
yeah.